Hi everybody, today we're interviewing Revel Loughlin, Facebook market expert. The reason why we're interviewing Revel is that right now travel businesses and travel agents need to be thinking outside the box in terms of how they're attracting customers. So we're looking outside the industry for experts like Revel to be able to show you how he's doing it with other small businesses. He's a small business expert and he gives away so much value in this interview, all the way from what you can do with your current clients, how you can generate an audience to attract new clients, what you can, and even some direct tips on what he would be doing if he owned a travel agency right now. I hope you really enjoy the interview. There's lots of value. Get your pad and your pen out because you'll be taking notes. Everybody. Today, I'm excited to talk to Facebook expert and fellow West Australian, Revel Loughlin. The thing I like about Revel is that he enjoys working with the little guys, the small businesses, the startups and the people in the trenches. And, that relates to our audience a lot, the small businesses, those people that are, especially now we're struggling and we're needing a bit of guidance. And what I like about what Revel does is he works with those businesses in terms of Facebook, and he can go into the other stuff that he does. But I think there's real expertise and advice that he can share with us today that can help people in the travel industry. So welcome today, Revel. Good to have you.
Thank you very much, my friend. It's great to be able to share some knowledge everywhere. It's great. Thank you.
Yeah. So look, tell us a little bit about your story, what it is you do and how you got to this point.
Sure. Well, look, I don't have a terribly in-depth story, to be honest with you. I don't consider myself to have had a very hard upbringing or anything along those sort of lines. But anything, I guess, I was very fortunate. And I think I consider myself extremely lucky, in fact, because I fell into a lot of these things. And they were made like subliminally from some kind of choice in the past where, right back to when I started in my first business, which was personal training in Brisbane. And even that was an element of luck. I just had a really good friend at the time, Daniel, who was his idea to get into personal training. And we went to this fitness institute and he was like, do you want to just come along and have a look? I was like, I had no intention. I was training to be a tax accountant at the time, a tax preparation specialist. And so I went to this meeting at the Fitness Institute, and lo and behold, put down a deposit for a fitness course that later. Like, I was that impulsive, still am to some degree. And I think that helps with an element of Facebook testing. But, that was an element of luck. So a lot of these kind of things that I fell into, and ultimately fast forward 8 to 9 years, and here I am doing Facebook marketing full time, is by chance. And I'm very, very grateful for that. And so where I am now, going from the personal training way back when, about 8 years ago now, to doing the Facebook marketing stuff, is back then I really saw a necessity very quickly. Again, a fortunate position where I wasn't getting clients, and I figured out pretty quickly that I was just like, well, I'm a PT now. Why aren't people just coming to me? Like, why aren't I getting all these clients? And the best thing I did was Google how to get personal training clients, and I found my first business mentor, which I was very thankful for. And I hooked into his Facebook marketer at the time. Back then, Facebook was very easy to market. You could still boost posts and get some good results. And, in essence, I got bored with personal training. I'm someone who seeks challenges. And so when that wasn't as challenging, I moved on to helping other PTs do the same, other coaches in the health space. And then when that wasn't as much of a challenge and that funnel, that strategy just worked, I moved out to helping other industries. And that was, going on sort of 3 to 4 years ago now. But all in all, I think, that the whole journey from start to where we are now has been through a bit of fortune, a little bit of luck, and just a whole bunch of consuming challenges and problem solving, definitely.
Yeah, it's what you say. You've been doing outside of the fitness thing for about 3 or 4 years and working with the businesses, and obviously you were doing Facebook marketing and while you're in your fitness business. For some people within the social media, the marketing world, that period of time is a very long time. You can learn so much in that period of time, and there's so much to learn through trial and error. I know for myself, I'm not hugely I'm not an expert at this, and that's what we've got you on, but I know whenever it comes to technology or using something new, I learn by doing, right, and making mistakes and listening to people like yourself to be able to do that. So you would have gone through so much learning over that time and imparting that knowledge and working with businesses. And what kind of things are you doing with the small businesses that are helping them at the moment, or prior to this, obviously, as well? What do you do with them, and how does it help them?
Well, in essence, I try and gain clarity. I must be completely honest with you. In terms of the other side of marketing, I guess if we were to identify exactly what we're doing, because I just have a small team that helps me, build these campaigns, monitor them, reporting, and I do more of the, I guess, the technician level stuff. I can look at something and go, this is not working, this is what to do, but anyone can do it. And that's something that I've kind of built an experience with over time. But coming back to what I was originally going to say around the conversation of branding, around messaging and all of that kind of stuff. To be fair, when I started, that didn't interest me whatsoever. I'm just like, if I put $1 into this machine, what will I get out of it? But that doesn't always come true. There's this marrying of branding and getting your message and your offers correct, as well as things that you can measure. And you marry those two things together, and now you have a long-term sales and marketing funnel, right? That's what we do now. Whereas, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, it was just like, we are going to get you this many leads in the first 8 weeks. We are going to work towards this return on investment for your online business, this ROAS, whatever you want to, acronym you want to sling on it. But that's what we do now. So being able to help extract and absorb, who a business is, including the business owner, and, what they're trying to achieve, and then devising a vehicle to achieve that in the shortest space of time with the greatest return on investment is exactly what we do.
Great, and that makes sense. That you've got to have. It's almost what's the story behind it? What's the what can people connect to? And I think in the travel industry, a lot of marketing that's happening with the travel industry, especially on Facebook. A lot of agencies and independent travel agents, mobile travel agents, have their Facebook pages. And from what I see, is it's normally, not now, but normally a lot of deals. There's always this deal, the next deal, the next deal, the next deal, and there's no real balance between the other interesting stuff about travel that people are connected to, passionate about.
Yeah, it makes so much sense to me. And sorry to interject here, but it makes just edging a really good topic that I don't want to forget. But I do truly believe that travel offers just the foundations of storytelling. And just for those people who out there that may not be aware, storytelling is such a unique positioning opportunity for your business, whether you're in travel or not. So if you think about, for example, the reason how absurd it seems that people would, prior to COVID, go and sit in a cinema with 200 other people and pay, $15 to $50, depending on your seat, to sit there in the same cinema as 200 people and watch a 2-hour-long movie, aka story. That's entertainment, and that gives people an opportunity to be immersed and have a relationship with that story, aka your business. So it's no surprise that, if you sign up to a webinar, or if there's a lot of I don't want to say not just business coaches, but just businesses in general who are making the most of using video to tell stories. And that's what's selling. The deals come after the fact. I think the opportunity really for a travel agent specifically, or anyone in the travel space, is being able to say something along the lines of, hey, I've been to this place and here's my wonderful story. I walked down this kind of like rocky outcrop, and the sand was pure white, and it had this, salty smell in the air, and you can get people lost in that story, and then say, oh, I've also got this deal for this place. That's going to sell every day of the week, as opposed to, I've just got this deal, and then tomorrow I've just got this deal, and then the next day I've just got this deal. But definitely storytelling is such a unique opportunity. Yeah.
And I know you're coming from a place of also from a place of statistical evidence, because I know part of what you do is testing and measuring and see what works, and iterations, and changing it a little bit and see how that develops. So when you're saying something, you're saying it not just from what you believe it, not just from your heart, but you've got proof that it converts, right? You've got the statistics along the way, and which is why I think it's really interesting to talk to you with your experience, especially working with small businesses. Currently, the travel industry, and a lot of other industries, but especially the travel industry, is in a place where it's never been there before. We've had GFC, we've had SARS, we've had Ansett collapse, and we've had 9/11, but we've never had something like this, like COVID-19, and the effect that it's having. And we were the travel industry was the first one to be affected, and more than likely will be the last one to try and come out and recover. So for what's going on at the moment is, what I'm interested in your perspective on is that a lot of businesses, whether they be a team or a single travel agent, are in a position now where they're finding that because of the fear of safety of travel and border restrictions and rules, is that their cost base is the same. So it still costs them the same amount to run after JobKeeper finishes. So JobKeeper's here, it's helping them out a little bit. But once that finishes, the cost base goes back to being the same as it was pre-COVID. But they've got now they've got less inquiry. So, what are some of the hows? What are some of the things that they can do with less inquiry, but the cost being the same from the perspective of your expertise, to be able to get some more inquiry or get some more sales in? What are some of the strategies?
Fairly simple, actually. And if we were to pull forward what we were speaking about 5 minutes ago with stories, I'm assuming it's for the time being, it's predominantly domestic travel within the state. What's the terminology? Intrastate.
Yes.
I've never used that word before in my life. Yeah, I actually, funny, off on a tangent here, I have an app that I use, and it brushes me up on the mathematical skills, division, all of that kind of stuff. For whatever reason, I just used calculators for the best part of my life, and now I just kind of feel dumber. So I've also got a lot of different literacy apps in there as well. So I try and keep my brain thinking because I enjoy it. I love to be able to articulate messaging in a way that helps simplify our learning, and that helps me do that. So intrastate is a very new one for me. That's cool. But if that's the case and domestic travel is all that's available to be offered at the moment, then I would, two main things. One would be to position an offer in front of a very specific audience. I'm a massive believer, and this is backed by a lot of measuring, that although I might just sell the selfie stick that my phone's on right now that we're having this recording with, I can sell that same selfie stick or stand to multiple avatars. Right? I can sell it to people who are, or maybe not now, but I can sell it to people who were traveling in Australia. I can target specifically people who are from abroad in Australia who are tourists on Facebook. And I would create a marketing message or a video and say, hey, are you traveling in Australia? You need this selfie stick. I can also sell that same selfie stick to mums who are parents. And, maybe they go on holiday a lot. Maybe they're going camping this weekend, or whatever the case may be. There's a very specific marketing message and copywriting that I could put in front of that mum, in front of those parents. So you can see the difference. Although it's the same product, or although it's the same offer, the same domestic travel package, however you want to swing it, you can bundle that up toward very specific avatars. And that's exactly what I would do. Because now you're not only just saying, hey, I've got this wonderful offer for everyone. Somebody scrolling on Facebook now sees an offer that is targeting the fact, unbeknownst to them, mind you, targeting the fact that they are parents, or targeting the fact that they do travel frequently, which is a targetable option in Facebook. And again, that ad is all talking specifically to them. So again, same product, same offer, pretty much the same package, just kind of regurgitated towards that very specific audience or avatar that you're advertising to.
Yes, yes. Speaking to them directly, features and benefits that relate to them, and I think now that we're on the surface of some pretty important detail that we could possibly dive into. And before we do, you mentioned avatar, and just to explain to the people that don't know what an avatar is, it's basically a specific. Well, you go ahead and explain.
Target audience? Yeah.
Yes,
It's funny you say that. I've only just picked this word up in February this year from a lot of the other Americans that I follow in the marketing space. And it's just like avatar, avatar, avatar. So in my mouth, I'm like, avatar. But target audience, yeah.
Yes. And so that all sounds nice. But if I'm an agency owner or a travel agent, how do I find that audience? And I suppose there's two questions I have. How do I get that from my existing customers? And how do I get in front of the new customers, targeted customers that are way more optimized to buy what I'm selling?
Yep. Two-part answer to that one. So the great thing about, I think, the travel industry is that you have a huge database somewhere. You have either phone numbers, at the very least, email addresses, and a technical level. If you've got a Facebook page that's had a lot of, any engagement over however many years you've had it, you can create these segments of people who have engaged with your Facebook page over the past 365 days. People who have sent you messages to your travel page over the past 365 days. That assumes that the only reason someone sends a travel page a message on Facebook is someone who's prepared and happy to travel. So you create a custom audience of those people, and that's used for retargeting, right? So for anyone who doesn't quite understand the concept of retargeting, it's if you go to a website and all of a sudden you look at a product and the next day or 50, you just get stalked around the internet and Facebook with that product, that's retargeting. Essentially what you're doing here with this custom audience on Facebook of, say, people who have messaged you, or upload a customer list, email addresses, mobile phone numbers, names, and Facebook's going to try and match that with the data of those people on Facebook. Now you're remarketing. Now, that's the first part of this answer. And the way that you construct that is very much, to help you understand why that's your lowest hanging fruit, I guess, is the fact that they already know who you are to some degree. They've at least, seen your brand name, they've seen your business because they've interacted with you in some way, shape, or form. And it's a very, very simple audience and a very warm audience to be able to come back to. Those would be the people I'd be putting offers in front of first and foremost, without too much thought about having to put all this effort into story, although story would be great. But you've already got some form of relationship with them here. Now that's the first part of it. The second part would be, to technical detail, would be to create what's called a lookalike audience from that custom audience. Now, let me explain what that is very simply. If I have, for example, for the Facebook business, the consulting business, there's a bit over 4,200 people who've messaged just that page. Why would they message a Facebook page that is talking about Facebook marketing? There's a high probability they're business owners, and that's exactly who we want to get in front of and exactly the type of people that we help, right? So I'd be mad not to go to Facebook. Hey, there's, over 4,000 people who've messaged that Facebook page. Go out and find more like that. That's what a lookalike audience essentially does.
Yes. So
instead of you having to do a lot of testing, although that's going to be required in the future, especially if you want to make it better. But instead of having to test different interests, different age brackets, blah, 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 you can go ahead and move forward with some of those lookalike audiences, and you're leveraging AI that is extremely powerful, and that's only going to get more precise to be able to put your messages and your offers in front of people who've never heard of you before, but are most likely to convert, if not at least inquire with you, based off the evidence you've given to Facebook from that custom audience.
It's such a powerful tool, isn't it? Like, I'm thinking, if I'm in an agency or I'm a mobile travel agent, and I have, a lot of them don't know they have that data.
Yeah. No one does. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. They have that insight. And I go back to what you were saying previously about being able to, once you have that data, then splitting segmenting that data and tailoring the message. Because I'm thinking, let's say I'm in Queensland and I've got a package for the Queensland Islands, and I can go, right, I've got families in this segment. I've got single travelers, or single people, and I'm explaining this in a very basic way. But can you go into a little bit about how detailed can you get about the targeting? And let's use an example of let's say I'm in Queensland. It's an island, a deal I want to advertise. Let's talk about the ways that you would do that with the existing audience, and then how you would leverage off that data for a new audience. Just to give them a real life example.
Perfect. All right. Yeah. So let's start with the retargeting audience, the people whose information you've already got. So you'll probably have email addresses. You might have Facebook messages. The first thing would be to come up with the offer in the package itself. Let's say that you've got that offer in the package, bearing in mind that you may have to change some of the wording to make it seem relevant to different avatars and target audiences that we talk about going on from here. So we've got this package for an island off Queensland, a small domestic little travel, maybe a couple of day getaway or a week-long getaway, whatever that ends up being. I would get that retargeting audience and I'd put that offer straight in front of that retargeting audience. And I'd want to be getting Facebook messages. So I'd be running what's called a message objective. I'm saying to Facebook, here's my ad, here's my offer, here's my target audience. Find me people who are most likely to message me within those variables, right? And so getting messages from that, over the course of the first 24 hours or the first week. And just bearing in mind, when we run our campaigns for the first time, we're usually running them for at least 7 to 10 days before touching anything. A lot of people will run an ad for 1 to 2 days and wonder why it doesn't work. Simply doesn't get enough data. Unless you're up spending, well above average, which is about $75 to $100 Australian per day on Facebook ads, you technically need that amount of time, 7 to 10 days, to see whether something's working. So you create those offers, you create that package, you put it in front of your retarget audience, see who messages over the first 7 to 10 days, and then you start to break down the figures as to, are there more females than males messaging off the back of this ad? Is there a particular age range, 18 to 25, 26 to 35, 36 to 45, 46 to 55, 65 plus, so on and so forth, who is messaging more than other age brackets? Now you're starting to get some validated learning from this exercise, and you would then refine your ads after that to that retargeting audience. And then I would dare say that you might have some validated learning to come and take this offering and this retargeting campaign to create a new campaign going out to new people. And so very specifically, I would create a lookalike audience, as we spoke about before, of people who have interacted with your page, who have messaged you, or email addresses, a customer list. And I would advertise it over here in a different campaign. And I'd maybe use some of the variables that are proven from this retargeting campaign. So let's move forward with a real life example. Maybe it turns out to be females aged between 35 and 45 years of age, who obviously live in Queensland, who are message you most about this little island getaway, right? I would then take that lookalike audience and put it over into a cold new audience. When I say cold, it just means this audience hasn't heard of you before. Cold audience, not warm. And so I then create a new cold campaign with that lookalike audience in it, and start with that age bracket with the same package and see if it hits as hard as it did over here. Now, if it does, congratulations, you've got somewhat of a proven campaign that you can expand on.
Right.
If it doesn't, then I would test that for probably, again, 7 to 10 days. And then you would start to broaden out your avatars, your target audiences. So then you would kind of repeat the little test you did over here with retargeting, with open age brackets, with different genders, but over here again. So it's a very inexpensive way to start that. And to be
that'll be my next question. The cost of that,
yeah. Inexpensive, like retargeting audiences in general, to get in front of those people is very cheap. So if anyone's going to start any Facebook campaign, I recommend starting with your lowest hanging fruit, which just so happens to be your most inexpensive fruit as well, because again, they've heard of you. But I guess to give you, I know a lot of people ask this question quite often, how much should I be spending? And you can spend whatever you want, but I would start with that retargeting audience, because on average, if you've got an engaging ad that's converting, it shouldn't cost you more than about $12 Australian to get in front of 1,000 people. So, you know, unless you've got a ridiculously massive list of like 50,000 contacts that Facebook finds, it's not going to cost you that much to get in front of those people, that retargeting audience. So you could probably get away with $5 a day to start with over the first 7 to 10 days. But a lot of what I'm saying right now, you can Google a lot of this stuff. You can, even better, you can YouTube a lot of this stuff. I guess where a lot of people get, a lot of business owners, not just in the travel industry, get quite overwhelmed is, you know, I can say all of this stuff, and you probably only retain about 5% of it anyway, which is fine. That's human nature. But in terms of giving you a practical tip that you should probably look at doing now, I would simply do a Google search, do a YouTube search. I've got a Facebook group that I'll mention at the end if anyone's interested in joining that one. It's completely free. I don't pitch in there whatsoever, but it's really just a hub where people can ask questions. And there's a great video, if I do say so myself, that goes for 40 minutes that shows you how to set up a Facebook ad from start to finish. And to be honest, I made that video just to save myself time, because I got the same question over and over again, to save my patience a bit. But that's what that's there for. So I would say, okay, step number one would be to come up with this package. Or if you have the resources, come up with multiple packages, because we actually don't know which package, you know, to me, that means an offer. We actually don't know which package or offer is going to work the best, which is going to be of most interest to whatever audience. So we have a few variables here. We have different offers, which might be a getaway to a Queensland island, which might be, what else is in Queensland? Might be a trip to the Tablelands, might be, you know, up the far north Queensland, who knows? But you have these different offers, aka packages. Those are your variables here. Then I would think about how many different avatars, aka target audiences, could be interested in these different packages in all of their forms and shapes and sizes. Right. And I'd write those down. And you're starting to get a bit of a mind map. And then your messaging, the way you write your ads, stems from that. Obviously, you wouldn't say, do you want a full drive getaway to mums? Well, most mums, do you know what I mean? But you might say that to someone who's interested in full driving, as an example. So I guess to really sort of tie this neatly in a bow, I really, really would start with your retargeting audience being warm before, you know, going anywhere near a cold audience, and, you know, start to see very quickly which offer, what segments of that retargeting audience is performing the best by way of measuring how many inquiries you get, and then you can start to move forward with some of that validated learning from there.
It just makes sense, the process that you're talking about in its simplest form is to don't guess, put it out there, learn from the information of people that are interacting and engaging, and then shape your marketing based on what you're learning from direct from the potential customer anyway. And I love the fact that you added in there that it may not be just the Queensland Island, we're testing the segments that like that one. It could be the Queensland Islands, the Tablelands, the North. So we're also testing which destination is converting best with which best segment. So there's multiple testings going on. And I it's amazing what information can be gathered from that. I suppose the other question I have then is that they've got these audiences and they can feed. You're saying that if they've got email addresses, that they can feed that into Facebook, and Facebook can create an audience from that, which then can create a lookalike audience from that, which can. So even if they haven't got a say the Facebook pixel up yet, they can create. Because there is a process there, right? There's the ad manager, business manager, the pixel, and putting in the audiences. But once they've done that and that's working, then really they've got someone or something on their side going, hey, look, I'm gathering all this information in the background for you. And it just keeps on gathering it, doesn't it? I mean,
totally.
Can you talk a little bit about the pixel and what kind of information it gathers, and where should it be? Where should they be having this pixel in terms of all their mediums that they can be
Easy, easy. If you've got a website or a landing page, that pixel needs to go on that landing page or on that website. Technical speak, in the header section. You can Google all of this stuff. If you have a Squarespace website, WordPress website, Weebly website, Wix website, ClickFunnels landing page, whatever, Google how to put a Facebook pixel on the website. And it's the same for every. Once it's there, you don't touch it. It's always there, always there. And it's continuously tagging users who, and gaining information about users who go to that page, who go to that website, who go to that landing page. Some of the ways that that will serve you in the future would be not too dissimilar from creating a lookalike audience from people who've messaged you or whose information you've uploaded to Facebook. You can create a lookalike audience of people who've been to your website. Is that going to be better than some of the other lookalike audiences? You don't actually know until you test. But now you have another variable. You have, I guess, technically another avatar to be able to test with. At the end of the day, who cares what works? Because one will work better than the other. And now you've got something that's proven. You've obtained some validated learning from that exercise, definitely. The pixel itself, in its simplest form, is really just, I often use the analogy of just, a little man standing on the other side of the river. And if you send your relative, like your grandma or your nan, God bless them, across the river in a little canoe, that little pixel, little man on the other side of the river tells you that they got them, right? They go, Nan's got to the other side of the river. Do you know what I mean? That's what's happening there. Facebook is essentially the pixel, I should say, is essentially telling Facebook that this person has arrived at the web page, at the landing page, and now you can retarget that person, make lookalikes of that person, so on and so forth. Yeah.
Yes, and it's almost, and it goes even further, doesn't it? Like Nan's got to the other side of the river, and her interests are origami, Italian cooking, or and it gives you some detail there.
Typical Nan stuff, yeah. Yeah.
Obviously, it's probably making sense to some, and then some are probably going, it sounds good, but it's confusing, right? And totally. I've been there myself. I've tried to Google some stuff and YouTube some stuff, but as I said before, learning by doing is, from what I've seen, is the best, and a lot of people haven't done yet. So we will get in when we wrap up. I will get into a little bit more about what you do, and if people are interested, to contact you. But I wanted to possibly finish with this last question. It might be a little bit of a tougher question, and it might be outside of the realm of what we've been talking about now. But if you owned a travel agency right now, what are the opportunities to adapt, pivot, that you would be looking at for that business? What would you be doing in that business to generate revenue, build an audience that potentially travel businesses aren't doing right now?
Great question. Immediately, I would start to utilize a webinar funnel to some degree. It takes quite a bit of setting up. I've done it many, many times. I guess I would construct a webinar to be able to teach people, believe it or not, how to go through creating their own travel packages. Now, that might seem counterintuitive because you're kind of teaching yourself out of a job, potentially, right? However, and I promise you this is measured, so if anyone out there wants to try it, give it a shot. You have nothing to lose, right? We've probably tried it. Myself, I've used this methodology with about 4 different courses, one being, they're all Facebook courses, I should say. And I spray them across Facebook, I spray them across LinkedIn, and they're teaching people something, and they can, buy a course if they want to. But I promise you, at least, and I mean at least 25, maybe 30% of those people who watch that webinar about you teaching them something are going to come back to you and say, I can't be effed doing it myself. You just do it for me.
Yeah.
But only before, not before I should say, but after they've consumed that content and being able to get a first impression from you as a human, not too dissimilar from how we're conversing right now. But after they've got their first impression, They like the way you look, believe it or not. They like the way you sound, believe it or not. And then the offer comes after that. The education comes after that. Only then does someone really feel comfortable reaching out to you at some degree. You're going, hey, can you help me out with this? Or, well, how much is it going to cost to put this package together? You're generating inquiries, very, very warm inquiries, mind you. And it's a very different conversation than what you might think. Perfect example, about a month ago, about 2 months ago now, I should say, we had 2 people message us saying, hey, we're ready to go, more or less. How do we go about doing a Facebook campaign together? And we scroll back, both of them had first messages on in December 2018, that far back. They've sent X amount of messages, just asking tidbits of information, and it's taken 2 years to be able to, move forward with something. Now, I'm not saying that your sales cycle is going to be 2 years. However, what you are doing is offering some form of goodwill that costs you nothing after the fact.
Yes.
For people to then inquire off the back of. So the first thing I would do would be to utilize some kind of educational webinar funnel. Even if it was just simply a Facebook ad saying something to the tune of, hey, would you like to know how to design your own travel itineraries or packages, or what we look for? I'm an experienced travel agent. I've been doing this for X amount of years. I'd like to show you how to do it. Just register below. Go to a landing page, register, go to a thank you page, watch the 20, 30, 45-minute video. At the bottom, big orange button, maybe not orange, but just something that sticks out that says, book a call now if you want to chat further. Bang, you've got an inquiry. Do you know what I mean? Yes. It's such low-hanging fruit. Not everyone, don't get me wrong. Not everyone's going to sit there and watch, my mug for 20, 30, 45 minutes. However, the people that do, there is a very high conversion rate from getting to the end of the video and booking a call to, potentially help each other out and do some business together. Yes. So that would be the first thing I would do. Second thing I'd be doing is what we've kind of discussed, being that to, craft maybe 3 or 4 different packages, and then run those to my retargeting audiences, get some validated learning from that. And then I would move out to my cold audiences, and I would, try and segment them as best I could. And within the first kind of 10 days, I guarantee I'll have, some, at the very least, an audience that is responding the best, and an offer, aka package, that is, getting the most engagement or inquiries from it. Outside of that, a long play, and when I say a long play, this is a long play. This is not something that's going to work tomorrow, or perhaps even in a week's time. So you'd have to budget accordingly. But it's a strategy that I've been using for the best part of 7 years. I just know that it takes so long to, on the internet at least, without being face to face with someone, to gain someone's trust and to be able to build a relationship with someone digitally, virtually. Like, we've never met each other. But being, face to face right now, being able to see each other, being able to, see each other's expressions and the way we talk and our tonality, and just looking at each other, we have a much better relationship than, say, just talking over the phone. Yes. So I'd use that to my advantage. I've been using it to our clients' advantages as well, by using a lot of videos. Even if there's no call to action to it, I would say this is like strategy 3 under like the webinar and splitting up of offers and audiences, I should say. This would be like number 3. And that would be a video about something to do with the travel industry, but very, a bit more personal. Maybe why you love traveling. Something that is more story orientated, that people can actually get immersed into. Again, people buy stories. I don't need to sell that again. But give them an opportunity to be immersed with you as a business owner first, and then the business. And then I would then retarget people who've watched all of that video with another video, with another video, with another video, with an article you wrote about when you went to Indonesia when it was still open, I don't know, with another piece of content, another piece of content. And I guarantee you, by the time they go through all of these bits of content, and you maybe invested something like an hour of their life consuming your content, you have a very, very warm, prospective client here. That's someone I would put an offer in front of, definitely.
I think that is, I think what you've just given us is highly, highly valuable. And I haven't heard what you've just talked about. I haven't heard that yet. And I want to touch on a couple of points that you mentioned there. that people can relate to. I love the fact that you talked about giving, another video and another video and talking about a bit about you, about your story. And I kind of relate it to, we just had a new coffee shop open up about a year ago. And on my first visit, I went there, they were friendly, had a sip of coffee, it was pretty good. And I was using a different coffee shop. And then I went back to my original one. Then I went back to the new one and they said, "Oh, you're back again." And they greeted me. They found out my name. And then I went back again and I found out their name, and now I'm there all the time, and I'm actually drinking more coffee than I was before because of those visits, that relationship that had built up. And I understood, her name is Nima, she's owned the business, she works with her brother, and it's that connection to the owner, not just the product, but the owner. I think you've just hit something on the head that a lot of that people need to hear. People need to hear that it's that connection to story, connection to business. And as you say, it's the long play. And going back to the first point you talked about, I love that idea. I love that the fact you said it's counterintuitive, because I think it's that kind of thinking now that we need to start to explore. And I love the fact that you said it's telling them about how to book travel, because the trust barriers just drop then, because this guy's telling me how he does his job.
He's telling me how to put himself out of a job.
And he's still giving it to me. But also, your people that jump on there are more than likely looking at booking something. And I love the fact that they're interested in how to
book. Good point. Very good point. Yeah.
So they're jumping on because they're probably going to be booking something fairly soon. So I think that's a fantastic idea. I think what you've given us today is hugely valuable. And for some people that are listening, it can be overwhelming, and it will be overwhelming.
Definitely
given us so much value. So as I said before, if someone's listening to this and they want to know more about what you do, they want to get in contact with you, how can they go about doing that?
At the moment, for the next couple of months at least, we are actually fully booked, believe it or not, which I'm very, very grateful for. I know there's a lot of businesses out there doing extremely tough, and I acknowledge that. But we are fully booked and aren't taking on clients, for the foreseeable future just yet, until we chew through some of these campaigns. But I'd say that I think the best course of action right now would be to jump into our free Facebook group. It's called I Want to Learn FB Ads. You'll see it's got a sad face at the end. I've just never changed it. Request to join that group. If you want, you don't have to. It's not one of those groups where I'm like, hey, introduce yourself and what you do and a bit about yourself. It's very much just a forum that, something that I really wish I had access to when I started way back when, to be able to ask questions and get an answer on the same day. I really do pride myself in my team to be able to answer those questions in a very, very timely manner, so that you can get an answer now from a human, and that is more specific to your business. There's a whole range of industries in there, mind you. There's a dog trainer that's gone from selling one-on-one dog training sessions, basically just PT for dogs for behavior stuff, to now launching an online course. That transition was huge, but we just kind of helped her and coached her through doing it in that Facebook group. So there isn't really anything that we can't cover, but I would recommend jumping into that Facebook group. I Want to Learn FB Ads, and what your immediate questions are. And what will probably end up happening is either myself or my team will drop a link that is going to answer your questions straight away. All of it's video, and all of it is instructional video. So make sure you are, sitting down when you consume this stuff. I guess my biggest point of advice is, although you might want to outsource it to someone right now just to save yourself time, even if you've got, the financial means to do that, I would still make an effort to increase your IQ around this platform and around this topic. I'm actually doing the exact same right now with Google. I'm in no shape or form a Google expert, but I understand some concepts of it. And so now I'm making an effort to increase my IQ, so that, when I refer to some of my Google partners to handle some clients' accounts, and we collaborate very, very synergistically together, that I'm able to say, hey, I think we should do this type of campaign with Google first before starting Facebook, because this reason.
Yes.
And I'm able to give, a very good validated foundation on that. So I would say, ask your questions in that group. More than anything, you're looking to increase your IQ. And on top of that, again, I just couldn't recommend enough to have patience with your ability, because you are learning, even if you don't do it for yourself long term, you are learning a new skill. It is extremely technical. It is very easy to get overwhelmed. However, just as all things, the more repetition that you have, the more accustomed you're going to get to it, and the more comfortable you're going to be making certain decisions and setting certain things up. So I'd say your patience with your ability to learn new things is enough.
I can hear you now.
Fantastic. Yeah, I'll just say patience with yourself is absolute key. I don't know what it is, but as I've gotten older and as I've just kind of consulted with some other people as well, I think we just lose patience with learning new things, and all of a sudden it's just like, oh, I didn't learn it in an hour. Oh, bugger it. I'll just put it in the too hard basket, or pay someone $10,000 to go and do it for me. Now I'm just kind of like, give yourself a bit of time first. I think you touched on a really good point, is learning by doing. Allow yourself to make some inexpensive mistakes. Allow yourself to take a whole hour to install a Facebook pixel, and although that might seem like a bit of a mission, it really does give you that unteachable experience. It's just, again, raising your IQ to a level that is going to serve you and anyone else who you come into contact with in the business space, that you could probably help with the same kind of learning. So definitely, I'd say join in that group, ask a few questions, and at the end of the day, you can always contact me in that group as well.
That's great. And from that, I'm also thinking with the learning you're talking about, when they're jumping into that group, they can also ask, what are the learning materials out in the ether, right? What are people looking at? Because I know that I've done learning before, and I've almost had to kiss 10 frogs to find a prince in terms of the good content, the good stuff to learn, right? So is there any shortcut to that, and so we don't have to go, they don't have to go through 5 different YouTube ads to find the good one? How do you kind of filter?
Well, I'm a very logical teacher, and if it's not yes, it's a no. If it's not a no, then it's a yes. There's no, in the nicest way possible, there's no nurturing. It's very much just, you want to set up this campaign, here's a video to do that. I've got a YouTube channel as well, not to sort of confuse people, but the YouTube channel is a resource that I use more so for a video library. So that when someone asks a question, I go, I've already made that video, here it is. It goes for 7 minutes, shows you how to set up a messenger campaign, or shows you how to set up a lead form campaign, shows you how to set up Facebook pixels, so on and so forth. And a lot of those things are just bite-sized exercises. So hell, there might be some, intermediate or expert level advertisers out there already who just need a quick tweak. And it's just like, here, that's how you do that. And away you go. So I really do pride myself on, number one, being able to relay information very simply, and being able to follow that up with a video instructional that is delivering that in a very short space of time for the sake of people's attention spans more than anything.
I think that's great then. So what I will do, before we jump off, I'll get at the end of this, I'll get the links to your website, the YouTube channel, and anything else the guys can use in terms of using you as a resource to learn. Now, I know there's probably some people on this call saying, look, I don't mind waiting for 2 months. I want to be first one. I want the first spot available. So is there a waiting list? Can they contact you in the meantime and say, look, I'm interested, and let me know? And is that available?
Yeah, sure. I'll give you the link to my Facebook page, and there is a messenger bot, which is a great opportunity for everyone to witness and engage with a messenger bot that, if I do promote myself, is set up correctly. And it'll ask you a series of questions, and that's so I can get information to be able to go and do a quick bit of research, like your Facebook page, and specifically if you have any different offers and that kind of stuff. And at the bottom of that messenger bot, you're able to book a call with myself for about half an hour. And before that call, I'm jumping on and going, hey, Bob, this is what I think you should do. Have a crack at that. And if you have any questions, jump into the Facebook group. That would be the best way to get in touch, definitely.
That's excellent. And lastly, like we do with many of our interviews, who could you nominate that you feel would also give value to this audience that we could interview as well, possibly in a different field?
Sure. Have you interviewed anyone in the Google space yet?
No, not yet.
Fantastic. His name's Hirsch. He is someone who I strongly collaborate with and very much recommend for all things Google. So I'll let you know that you're going to get in touch with him, and he'll be just this other. Here's page one, here's page two. If they go together, you're going to have a successful campaign. That's how I consider it. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Revel, it's been fantastic talking to you. There's so much value we've got out of this. It's great to hear from people outside of the industry from your perspective, but also someone who's already working with small businesses. I love the fact you say you work with the little guys, it's small businesses, the people that are in the trenches, and you've been doing that, and you're speaking from experience, you're speaking from testing, from measurement, and obviously you've got a big passion there to help small business. So the fact that you've taken the time to get on to the interview today, we really appreciate it. I know our audience really appreciates it. Thank you very much for coming on.
Oh, thank you, my friend. The pleasure is all mine. Any opportunity to be able to save people a bit of time and maybe alleviate a bit of confusion is all I'm here to do. I really appreciate it. Thanks.